Equity compensation is dilutive to shareholders. Public companies have to calculate that dilutive effect and include it in their earnings per share figures. But how do you determine that effect? There's a pretty well prescribed process that I'm going to explain in just 4 easy steps. Step 1 is to weight all of your equity awards for the length of time that they are outstanding during your fiscal period. When companies are calculating net earnings, they aren't calculating net earnings on just the last day of their period. They're calculating net earnings over their entire fiscal period. So equity awards that are outstanding for longer during that time period are more dilutive to earnings and should carry more weight in the calculation. An equity award that's outstanding for the entire time period would be weighted at 100%. An equity award that is outstanding for a shorter amount of time would be weighted at a commensurately lower percentage. Step number 2 is going to be to assume that all of a company's equity awards are paid out. Yes, that's right. We're going to assume that a company accelerates vesting on all of its equity awards. And then we're going to assume that all those options are exercised and all of those award shares are released. If that were to happen, that would add a lot more stock to a company's common stock outstanding, which would dilute earnings per share. At the same time, though, there would be some proceeds that come into the company in the form of the exercise price and the unamortized expense. Now, if the company were to take those proceeds and invest it back in operations, that would grow earnings, which would increase earnings per share. But there's really no way to calculate what the impact on earnings would be. So instead, what we are going to assume is that the company takes all of those proceeds and uses them to buy back its own stock from the open market, which is then going to reduce the dilutive effect of those equity awards. Now, this is a completely hypothetical calculation. So we're going to make all of these assumptions, even though it might feel unrealistic to assume that the company would just suddenly accelerate vesting on all of its equity awards. And even if the company doesn't have a policy of buying back its own stock. In step number 3, we're going to figure out which of those equity awards are anti-dilutive. Now, an anti-dilutive award is one where the number of shares the company can buy back exceeds the number of shares in the award itself. These are typically going to be your underwater stock options and your underwater awards. We are calculating diluted earnings per share. So anything that isn't dilutive, we are just going to ignore. We're going to exclude those awards from the calculation altogether. It's as if they don't exist. Did I mention this is a completely hypothetical calculation? And then the last step, step number 4, is going to be to calculate diluted earnings per share. We'll take all of our common stock outstanding, and then we'll add to that all the net shares that would be issued that we calculated in steps 2 and 3. We'll take that total number, and then we will divide that into our net earnings for the period, and the result is diluted earnings per share. Now, as you can probably imagine, there's a little bit more to this calculation than what I've been able to cover in this short video. But guess what? We have a webinar that goes into this calculation in much more detail. That is our Advanced Equity Accounting webinar, and it covers other advanced topics as well, like how to account for the tax effects of equity awards, or how to apply an estimated forfeiture rate to your expense accruals. This is a great webinar. I really encourage you to check it out. I hope you enjoyed my video today. If you did, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you're notified when we post new videos, and it helps us out too. Win-win. Thanks for watching.